Hello, welcome to our Limitless call. And we are so excited that you're here. It's July 14th, and this is powered by Regenrus Cares. We are so excited for our speaker tonight. I had the really wonderful opportunity just last Thursday to see Mick while we were visiting our Ohana tribe in Knoxville, Tennessee. We are so excited about partnering with this charity. We've done it more than once, but we truly love and admire what they're doing. So I don't want to take much more of the time, but we're so glad you're here with us tonight. And we invite you to, if you're live or if you're coming on later to listen, please share this call out so that we can help make even a greater difference for Random Acts of Flowers and for all the great information Mick is going to share. So turning it over to you, Brian, our Chief Innovation Officer.
Thank you, Cindy, our absolute extraordinary founder. And thank you for creating a company that enabled this type of call to be out in the world. Our Limitless call is really dear to our hearts and minds. And we're so excited to have Mick from Random Acts of Flowers with us tonight. Something really synergistic about this call is, I'm sure you'll all hear shortly from Mick. He is a big believer in the ripple effect, and you'll hear more about that from his story this evening. But that's really why we brought this Limitless call to life, because we know that there's going to be this ripple effect from this call. Those of you that are here live, those of you joining afterwards, this is all about sharing ideas and things that are valuable beyond just what happens here tonight, so that it really does ripple out and make a difference and be a force for good in the world. So without further ado, on behalf of all of us at Regenrus, we're so grateful to have you, Mick from Random Acts of Flowers. And please, for those tuning in, tell us a bit about who you are and what Random Acts of Flowers is.
Well, thank you for having me this evening. I'm glad to be here. Random Acts of Flowers is a nonprofit. We were started here in Knoxville, Tennessee, and we currently have a workshop in Indianapolis and then also down in Miami. And we started in 2008 when our founder, Larsen Jay, had a near fatal accident. He fell off a ladder and went to the University of Tennessee Medical Center and was there for 2 months and 13 surgeries. And Larsen's background is in television and movie production, and he has friends all over the world. And his room was, as he put it, a veritable jungle of joy with everybody sending him flowers. And he got the emotional boost from receiving those flowers, and it made him feel better. When he was finally able to be put in a wheelchair and wheeled out into the hallway to get some fresh air and sunshine, he noticed two things. One, how stark and sterile a hospital hallway is, and two, how his neighbors in the other rooms had no visitors, had no flowers. And he thought, I have an abundant amount of flowers. I want to share mine with them. And he did. And that's how Random Acts of Flowers started. So over the last 12 years, we have delivered over 500,000 bouquets to individuals in the 3 locations I just discussed. Here locally in Knoxville alone, we've delivered over 136,000 bouquets. We get our flowers donated to us from event centers where they have weddings and other corporate events. We get it from grocery stores. We get it from churches. And we bring them into our workshop on Mondays and Wednesdays. We bring the donated flowers into the workshop. That's what we call flower prep days. We have a group of volunteers that come in and prep the flowers. And then on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we have another group of volunteers that come in and make the actual bouquets. So today was a prep day, and we got a lot of flowers today. It's you never know how many you're going to get and how big, and we got a lot today. So tomorrow we're going to deliver about 200. Last month we delivered about 1,500, almost 1,500 bouquets. And when I say 1,500, that's a lot. But, you know, when I say that we've delivered 136,000 moments of kindness, that's a lot. But there's more than that. And Brian alluded to that earlier. We refer to it as the ripple effect. So for every moment of kindness, for every emotional boost that we give a recipient, there are 9 others created. So there's a total of 10 smiles and 10 emotional boosts created for every bouquet. How does that work? Well, the recipient gets an emotional boost knowing that someone he doesn't know is thinking of him. The recipient's healthcare providers get an emotional boost knowing that their patient is being cared for. And my wife is a physician at one of the hospitals here, and she tells me all the time, "Oh, one of my patients got one of your bouquets of flowers. It was so great." So also that recipient's family get an emotional boost, knowing that their loved one is being cared for, especially now that we're coming out of COVID. But during COVID, people were in their senior living or assisted living or hospitals and couldn't have visitors at all. And what we were doing was more important than ever. Also, our volunteers get an emotional boost knowing that what they're doing today is going to help someone tomorrow have a better day. So when I say that we've delivered 136,000 bouquets here in the greater Knoxville area, that's 1.36 million emotional boosts that we have given over the last 10, 12 years, actually. And we do all of that on a budget of about $250,000, 3 full-time employees, wondrous donors, and 350 volunteers. Wow. So today we had about 15 volunteers here today, running out, getting the bouquet, getting the flowers, bringing them in, prepping them. Tomorrow is an arranging day. We have another group that'll come in tomorrow. They refer to themselves as the Thursday Rockers. And they'll come in and make, I think we're gonna do about 185 tomorrow. But we have so many flowers. What happens is our volunteers are so committed that even once the 185 are created, they'll probably make another 20 or 30 just because they can and there's time and let's do it. And we'll find another location. Never do we call a place and say, "Hey, can we deliver 35 bouquets?" That they say, you know, that's just not going to work for us today. Yeah. They love it. Even if it's a facility that has maybe 120 beds and if they've got 100 people in it, if we say we've only got 20, they'll say, "Great, we'll just put it in the common areas. We'll put it in the cafeteria. We'll put it in the library, the break room, the TV room, and give someone an emotional boost." We get personal testimonials all the time from people. We have a wall, the wall of fame, we call it, of people writing us handwritten letters thanking us for, you know, the bouquet that you gave my mother. And this comes from someone in Cincinnati, Ohio that couldn't come here, and their emotional boost is that their mother is getting an emotional boost. So we are in the process of coming out of COVID. Last month's delivery of 1,500, we were at about 1,500 bouquets delivered. That's right there with our pre-COVID delivery numbers. More and more of the facilities, the healthcare facilities that receive our donations are going to start allowing us to personally deliver. A couple of weeks ago, we celebrated the brightest week on the longest day of the year, when people that have dementia and Alzheimer's, they suffer what's called the sundowner effect. So when the sun goes down, their negative situation becomes worse. And so the longer the day, the better they are. So we call that our brightest week. And we go out and pitch that to various donors, and we get supported for that whole week. And it's just a wonderful thing. And during that week of deliveries, I was able to make my first in-person delivery to 2 different memory care, and all of them went to memory care facilities. And very powerful stuff to get back out there and walk into people's rooms and say, "Yes, I know those, you didn't order these flowers. I know this is a random act of kindness for you, and it's only trying to make your day a little bit better." And so that's what we do. That's how we do it. We get a lot of community support. In fact, one of the local news shows will be here tomorrow. They want to do a story on us. We get to do 3 or 4 stories a year with the local media. Our founder, Larsen Jay, is now a county commissioner, so he's very high profile, but he's stepped away from us so that we can keep separation and not have to. He is an ex officio member of our board now. But he's always there for phone calls. I talked to him today about some things. And so he'll always be, this is his child and I'm just the caretaker. So that's what we do, is we create smiles, we create moments of kindness, and we create a personal, thoughtful moment for someone who really needs one.
Well, thank you, Mick. It's it's an extraordinary first act, and an even more extraordinary carrying on from that all of you have worked really well together to grow this incredible thing that is now blossoming, so to speak. And then speaking of blossoming, I know that you have intentions around, kind of doing this as big as you possibly can. So maybe just tell people a little bit about your kind of future plans and how people can participate with Random Acts.
We are in the process of creating a handbook, if you will, for those in other communities. We've tried this in a couple of communities that didn't work out for whatever reason. One was Silicon Valley, for example, and that was just so incredibly expensive. I have actually family that live out there, and they're like, yeah, of course it didn't work here. I mean, it costs so much to do anything. And that's why Indianapolis works so well. It works so well here in Knoxville. That's kind of the size, the metropolitan area that we're looking for. So we're putting together a package. We have about 90 people who are interested in starting a Random Acts of Flowers in their community. And the founder was smart enough many, many years ago to patent all those and get all that intellectual property in our name. And if you want to do it on your own and call it something else, more power to you. But if you want to use our guidebook and have our input into how you can make it happen, because we've lived through the good and the bad, so we know what does work and what doesn't work. And we're going to start doing that probably end of the year. We'll start getting some direct conversations by next year. If we can get 3 or 4 next year, and then over the course of the next maybe 10 or 15 years, we've got 20 or 25 throughout the United States in areas like Indianapolis, Knoxville, Tampa Bay, Nashville. I grew up in California in what I thought was a small town called Sacramento, California, and that's not such a small town anymore. So it might work there. Would it work in a San Francisco? I don't know. It might. There might be someone there that says, hey, I've got it figured out. I know what you do. I know how we can do it here. And we'll just focus on, the North Bay area and do this. And there's 3 hospitals here, and there's 75 assisted living facilities, and we're going to do it this way. Okay, go for it. So yeah, our plan is to take this and make it bloom throughout.
Yeah. Absolutely. And, for someone who's listening into this call or sharing it that's not in, let's say, Nashville or Indianapolis, what could they do right now that would help? What could they do to participate in some way?
What they could do is they could just look at their community and reach out to us, send us an email and say, this is the community I'm living in. This is what my background is. My background is in floral or healthcare, and it doesn't even have to be that. I mean, my background is in banking and television advertising. So, you could do a lot of different things. It's just a matter of a calling. And to be honest with you, I knew nothing about flowers other than, yes, dear, I'll trim those and I'll mow that. And but now I know, the names of flowers and stuff. And there's this great app on your phone. You can take a picture of a flower and it'll tell you what it is. So when a volunteer says, what are those? I go, let me see. Oh yeah, those are hydrangeas. Yeah. Pink hydrangeas, mostly from Iowa. So I think the important thing that someone can do in another community is reach out to us, get some input on how they can go about it, and we'll go from there.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Mick. It's an absolutely beautiful story. And again, an extraordinary act of kindness through flowers. And, there's such a there's such an importance in the world for the randomness of kindness, right?
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
it's like we can plan and do all these things, but when you think back on those moments where someone did something that felt just out of the blue, it's kind of a whole other level of excitement, acknowledgement, gratitude. And I just love that you have built a model that does that literally weekly, yearly now for 12 years and is growing. So thank you so much to you and your whole team. And thank you for taking the time to be
Thank
in
you.
our call and to share. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
So if anyone out there that's live with us has a question or a comment, yeah, Carol Montgomery, please.
So vases, how do you deal with the vases? Vases, whatever you want to call them. They're vases to me.
Vases. We'll call them vases. We get vases donated to us from all sorts of, especially during COVID, everybody cleaned their house. And when I go out and talk to groups, people ask that question. I say, well, everybody has 5 vases in their house right now that they're not using. There are 2 on the top shelf of the pantry. There's 2 underneath the kitchen sink, and there's that weird one out in the garage somewhere, and you'll find it. And so we got a plethora of vases, and we continue to get vases. And then also when we deliver to a hospital or an assisted living, about 2 weeks afterwards, they call and say, hey, we've got your vases ready. So they give them back to us. And then we just got, in fact, they had a ceremony here at the University of Tennessee, and we got 25 arrangements in vases. And so then what we were able to do, the vases were too big for us. We can't use anything. Our vase and bouquet really can't be taller than 18 inches because we have to get them into carts and on the van and all that. So when we get big vases, we call our floral partners. And it's important to remember that we don't replace a florist. Florists are our partners. We are using flowers that are either going to be thrown away or have already been bought from a florist and used at an event or at a church or at a wedding or somewhere. So we get vases donated to us from a variety of different places. And the ones that we can't use, we give to florists. And if we can't use them and a florist can't use them, then we give them to, we have a group here called the Knox Area Rescue Ministries that does secondhand selling. We also have Salvation Army, and we give them those vases to them. We also repurposed, you talk about vases, we don't throw any vases away. We either use them or we give them away. We also repurpose 14 tons of green waste every year. We work with one of our local lawn care companies. It's called Lawn Butler. And we have a huge dumpster and we fill it up, and they come about every 2 months and take it and put it in their green compost. So it's used in green compost. So between us doing that and recycling all these vases, we were the 2019 Nonprofit Recycler of the Year, as awarded by, thank you, as awarded by the Tennessee Recycling Coalition. So not only do we work at creating smiles and giving someone an emotional boost, we strive very hard to have a very minimal environmental footprint.
We love that. I know Carol Montgomery loves that. Beautiful. Well, I'm going to pass it back to our incredible founder, Cindy. And it looks like we have a couple more questions, but.
Awesome.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you, Brian. I know he has to hop off, but I want to continue. So Brenda, let you ask your question. I can ask mine after.
I was curious, you said you have a guidebook. Do you work with, for instance, you were talking about some of the partners that you have, like grocery stores and things like that. Do you have contacts at the bigger stores, or is it that someone else could benefit from, or is it done more on a local level with the local management at the stores?
It's done. We work with some of the largest retailers around. We work with Kroger. We work with Target. We work with Publix. We work with Trader Joe's. And we'll get like a new Kroger will open up here. And then I'll go talk to them and I'll say, this is what we do. And they go, oh yeah, we've heard about you. Let me check with my boss. And I say, well, he'll like it, because for them, it's a tax write-off.
Yes.
So not only are they doing the right thing, but it's also a tax write-off. So it's good for them. And it's just, everybody's receptive to it once they understand, who we are. We're not into making money off it. We're into helping someone else have a better day.
So if you were trying to start one in your neighborhood and or in your area, and you had some of the stores that you already have relationships with, you might already have kind of a foot in the door to be able to start establishing those relationships in your own community.
Right.
Okay.
And then we have kind of like a how to contact them. Here's how you kind of present the idea. Here's how to present the idea to event centers.
Okay.
And, we call them memorial services. And whenever on our delivery cards, there is a sponsor. So ABC Company sponsors us. So they get ABC Company as the sponsor. But then there's also a place for two handwritten places. One is floral donor, and then floral arranger. So for floral donor, you handwrite in Kroger or Trader Joe's.
Okay.
And for the arrangers, you put in your name.
Okay.
Or sometimes people will put in their mother's name or their
Yeah.
recently passed father's name or something like that. And then we have all that in the package, and we tell everybody everything we know. I mean, if someone in Minneapolis wants to open one of these, we've got about a 4 or 5 inch thick 3-ring binder that goes through every step of the process. How do you find floral donors? How do you find places, receiving facilities? How do you get donors? How do you get vases? One of the things we do here, it's a real simple thing for some companies that want to help us out but don't really know how to do it. They can have an employee vase drive. We've had some of the banks here that will open up their lobbies and let us put a table in there with signage saying,
we need vases. Yeah.
Awesome.
Those are great ideas.
Yeah.
For sure.
Even we're going to start something new called the volunteer ambassadors.
Mm-hmm.
I can't go to every Rotary Club or every, club that wants to have someone come speak. So we're going to have volunteers, and I'm going to do a training with them to where they become ambassadors, and then they can go. And we have a lot of companies here that have volunteer days. So they'll open up their cafeteria and let nonprofits come in and set up, because they let their employees have 1 or 2 or 3 paid days per year to go volunteer in the community. So you can go in there and sit and, have those kinds of things. And I just can't do them all. I mean, it's just getting to be too much. So we want to empower the volunteers as much as possible.
Exactly. So for anyone on this call this evening or listening to this call after, to find out more information, Mick, we go to randomactsofflowers.org. Is that correct?
Go to rafknoxville.org.
Okay, rafknoxville.org for those listening. And hopefully you're inspired to donate. Even if you're not in the Knoxville area, you can truly help make a difference from wherever you are in the communities. And I know the Random Acts that you do have, Flowers has your other locations as well, or is that still affiliated with Knoxville?
It was started here, so the intellectual property is all here, and Larsen is here. And then the other workshops, they're independent, but we work with them.
And help, you want them to be successful. You set them up for success with your workbook.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Wonderful. Wonderful that you do that.
Indianapolis is doing really well. The one in Tampa Bay is doing really well. And then we've got 3 or 4 other locations that are very close to doing some things. So by this time next year, we hope to have another 3 or 4 up and running.
Super. Well, we're so excited to have chosen you for our recipient for our percentage of our sales this month for July for Regenrus.
Thank you.
We're so excited to help you out on your mission and purpose to really, truly put a smile on someone. And it's not just the recipient, as if you shared, those that are volunteering, doing the work, those that are actually delivering. It's just a beautiful thing all the way around, which I love. It's a win-win-win.